What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another very exciting ranking video. With the release of Tenet hitting theaters this weekend, September 4th, Labor Day weekend, I got to see it yesterday, thank you to Fandango. Now that I've seen Tenet, it's time for me to give you guys my ranking for all 11 Christopher Nolan movies from worst to best. I took all night to process my ranking for Christopher Nolan's movies because there's not a film of his that I hate. And Christopher Nolan is one of those directors that has a movie of different categories. He has movies that are classics, some of the greatest films ever made, pretty under the radar movies, as well as some divisive movies that people are completely split on. But I do have my ranking, and I will say this right off the bat. This is completely subjective, and there's so many Nolan movies that many people love. We are definitely not going to agree on this ranking, which is why I'm allowing you guys to come join me down below in the comment section and let me know your ranking for all 11 Christopher Nolan movies. If you haven't seen Tenet yet, then leave the ones that you have seen, and please do not post spoilers on Tenet. Starting off this list at number 11 is going to be Christopher Nolan's very first movie, all the way back in 1998, Following.
And they've got one laundry bag, which means they're probably very used to each other, probably about 25 over.
It could be 20 and have been living together for years.
Came out in 1998. It definitely feels like a student-made film. It's a very short movie, only an hour and 10 minutes long. The reason why this is my least favorite Nolan movie is for simple reasons. It's not that entertaining, very engaging. I don't find it as interesting. It's got a really cool concept about a guy who basically follows strangers around on an everyday basis. This is what he does for work. And then he comes across this one guy who discovers him following him and asks him why. And then you find out more about this other character in that he basically breaks into people's houses and discover things and people's routines on what they do on a daily basis. But if you watch Christopher Nolan's other movies, he's more blockbuster oriented and he's a very different director than what he was in his beginning stages. I don't hate Following. I only saw it once for the first time this year leading up to Tenet. And while I do appreciate it in the fact that it's a black and white movie as well as a neo-noir film, it's not that rewatchable. I'm never gonna revisit this movie. Maybe when I do a Nolan ranking in the future. Alright, now we're getting controversial. I'm gonna get tons of comments by this, but I don't care. You guys know my opinion on this movie. Back in 2017, it's one of my most disliked reviews on my channel. That is Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan's finally doing a war movie, which was what I wanted to see. He's tackled so many different genres and just made one of the best films in specific genres. So Dunkirk looked like it was going to be a major Oscar hit, and Nolan could possibly win his first Oscar. Now look, I get it. Nolan wanted to do something different with the war genre. He wanted to flip it on its head, tell a completely different story than what we have seen before. Like, not focus on the campfire soldiers, character development type of war movies. He wanted to focus on this event, the evacuation of Dunkirk. I get it. If you love that stuff and if you love this movie, I respect your opinion and understand why. But for me personally, I'm more into the character-driven, typical type of war movies and more the character-based ones. There was not one character I could root for, and I wanted to know more of the motivations of these soldiers, why they wanted to get home, and more of an emotional attachment to them. But you got Harry Styles thrown in there. I don't know anything about him and the main characters as well. And the different perspectives, which were really cool. Mark Rylance and his family. I wanted to know more of their motivations and their development. I think the best part of this movie is the dogfighting sequences with Tom Hardy and the pilots, but in terms of rewatchability, character-wise, and entertainment-wise, Dunkirk didn't do it for me. I respect your opinion if you love this movie, but I just didn't love it. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Christopher Nolan's 2014 sci-fi film. This is definitely one of Nolan's more divisive movies. You love it, hate it, or in the middle, but I really enjoyed Interstellar.
Cooper, what are you doing?
Docking.
I really like Interstellar. Is it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. It's got a lot of issues to it. But I really love this movie, the first 2 acts, man. The sci-fi elements were so interesting, and Christopher Nolan's just storytelling and what he wanted to make. This is basically his version of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Matthew McConaughey was fantastic as Cooper. Just the scene of him watching all the 23 years of messages was just heartbreaking to watch. And I was just floored with Anne Hathaway. Michael Caine didn't get much to do, but I was floored by him. Jessica Chastain and Casey Affleck as the adult versions didn't get much to do. I wanted to see more of their storylines. I actually really like those robot characters, especially Tars, just how snarky he is. He's basically HAL 9000, but the cool version of it. And while there are some really dull sequences, like with Matt Damon's secret cameo, definitely Matt Damon as Dr. Mann, pretty dumb. He got thrown in there. He just gets blown up. The third act is by far the worst act. There are some really dumb parts to this film. Like, love is basically what can save humanity. Cooper's love for Murph, that's how he finds her. Goes in this weird paradox library. And then he reunites with Murph. She's like over 100 and he is as well. And he just sends him off like that just to go back to Anne Hathaway. Really? Yeah, the ending of this movie is not good. But the first 2 acts are so epic. I love the first 2 acts of Interstellar. It's epic, but also kind of stupid. Alright, coming in at number 8, I know I'm going to get some comments of why this is so low on the list, but Christopher Nolan, man, has different movies that connect with different people. And I really love this movie, but there are just others I love more. That is 2000's Memento.
I'm no different.
I think Memento was Christopher Nolan's first film where he really started off on the heart marks. Like, this was a big independent film, and this was one of the best films of 2000, for sure. Guy Pearce gives one of the most underrated performances I've seen. Just his character going through amnesia and basically just telling the audience of what he experiences with amnesia, how his character forgets a lot of conversations he's had with people. I love how this movie's told, man. The ending's pretty much the beginning is the end. Like, the black and white sequences, how they're told, and the colorized as well, and how they form together by the ending. It really makes you think. And it just shows how great of a director Nolan is, that he can add in those amnesia elements, those time travel elements, and you have it with Memento. Number 7, I think this is Nolan's most underrated movie. Many people will put this at the bottom 2 of their Nolan rankings, but something about this film, I love crime movies as well as like cop films. That is Insomnia.
Son of a bitch!
Insomnia, I think, is Nolan's most underrated movie. This movie does not get a lot of love, and it should, because it's that great of a crime movie. Is it original? Definitely not. It's definitely borrows a lot of elements from other murder investigation movies, but murder mysteries work for me, man. Al Pacino is fantastic in here. His character for sure has the biggest arc and the biggest question. Did he really commit this murder on purpose or by accident? And it really toys with your head. Christopher Nolan knows how to toy with the audience's head. And just with the title, Insomnia, this character is losing sleep because of this incident. And how Robin Williams toys with his mind was just some of the most underrated dialogue exchange I've seen in a Nolan film. The whole movie is paced well. Hilary Swank is really good in here. Her character could have been written better, but I just think Nolan knows how to take characters, he has respect for his actors, and just makes it the most entertaining, intriguing thing possible. Number 6 is going to be Nolan's most recent movie. Saw it last night. So hyped for it. I absolutely loved it despite how confusing it was. Tenet.
Well, I've seen too much. Well, we'll try and keep up.
By far, Nolan's most divisive movie to date. Tenet combines all the elements Christopher Nolan is known for. A big blockbuster action film. It has some of the best action sequences in a Nolan film, hands down. The opening 10 minutes of Tenet is one of Nolan's best opening sequences you may have seen. but this movie's paced well. The action is very entertaining, engaging. The sound effects, I get it, they're extremely loud. The dialogue is very hard to understand. While it definitely is, I was able to follow what the characters were saying. John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki might have stolen the show from me, Kenneth Branagh as the villain, Michael Caine. Just all the characters were fantastic. The acting was great, and the pacing, and Ludwig Göransson's score replacing Hans Zimmer is fantastic. Just give him the best original score Oscar this year. Tenet is engaging. It is confusing on first viewing, but Nolan is able to take a concept like this with time, like his other films, and make it the most interesting thing possible. I love we have movies like this where we can have a conversation about it, whether it's a good reaction or a bad reaction. While we have different opinions, we can discuss it. Before I give you my top 5 favorite Christopher Nolan movies, if this is your guys' first time checking out my channel and you're enjoying my Nolan ranking so far and you want to see more videos like this, then hit that like button. It really helps with my channel and the algorithm, as you know. If you want to see more content from me, consider clicking that subscribe button, because I do tons of awesome rankings like this, new movie reviews, classic movie reviews, Blu-ray hauls at the end of the month. And if you're interested in me talking about movies in an in-depth analysis like this, I do a podcast called the Fallen for Film Podcast with my co-host and buddy Colin Williams. We have guests on, we talk about the biggest movie news, we play games, and we just have a fun time talking about movies in an in-depth scale. Podcast platform links are in the description if you're interested. Number 5, this movie doesn't get enough attention as well, but I think the more times people have seen it, it's getting more love, and I'm loving that it's getting more love. Number 5 is The Prestige.
You went halfway around the world. You spent a fortune. You did terrible things.
This film is beautiful, and I love just the concept of magic, and my best friend is a magician, and this film just dives into magicians, but it's not just about that, it's about rivalries. Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale are so despicable and unlikable characters, but the performances they give are amazing. I love the rivalry in here. There's a lot of Batman and Joker vibes with this rivalry. They want to one-up each other. They do a really awesome, amazing magic trick on each other that is going to be the most memorable. The supporting cast is really great in here. In The Prestige, while it talks a lot about magic and what it can do to people and it can ruin people's lives, there's a lot of emotional stuff in here. And what a rivalry can do. And by the climax to this movie, spoilers if you haven't seen it, Christian Bale having a twin, my god, what a reveal, what a twist in there. Definitely one of the best Nolan twists. Number 4, this is a film that would be lower on certain people's lists, but I absolutely love this film. Again, this is one of Nolan's more divisive movies, for sure. People that love it were disappointed or hated it, but I love this movie. That is the conclusion to the Dark Knight trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises.
Let's not stand on ceremony here.
Dark Knight Rises is fantastic. I love this movie. Like, every time I revisit it, it is one of the most emotional, epic comic book films I have ever seen, man. This movie is amazing. Christopher Nolan, just what he did with the Dark Knight trilogy. I think it is the best superhero storytelling that we have ever seen in cinema. This movie takes the character of Bruce Wayne and Batman in a direction we have never seen before on the big screen. It shows that a hero can be broken and not perfect and physically damaged. This is the most physically damaged we have seen Bruce Wayne and Batman. He's a lot older. He's had to deal with a lie for the past 8 years after the Harvey Dent incident in The Dark Knight. And you see that's hurting Bruce Wayne. You see that's hurting Gordon. One of the best comic book villains we have ever seen. Bane is physically superior to Batman. He beats the crap out of Batman, breaks his back, and this is Gotham's biggest threat we have ever seen. I love The Dark Knight Rises. I know people hate this movie or don't love it, but I love this film. Number 3 is my favorite origin story to any comic book movie. To this date, it had a lot of nervousness going in, especially with those Joel Schumacher Batmans, but Batman Begins did Batman right. Knight.
What the hell are you? I'm Batman.
I love the first hour of this movie with the death of Bruce Wayne's parents and him growing up and learning from that, him training with Ra's al Ghul, spoilers, in the League of Shadows is just excellent. The action sequences of what Bruce Wayne goes through and Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, meeting all of these characters, Ra's al Ghul, and you got Alfred, Michael Caine, fantastic, Lucius Fox, Morgan Freeman. Everyone talks about the train scene in Spider-Man 2. You should be talking about this train sequence. It is epic. Just Batman Begins. It started off this trilogy in the most epic way possible. It's got a great ending. Man, oh man, Batman Begins is beyond epic. Top 2 are very obvious for many Nolan fans, but number 2, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Every time I revisit this movie, I find new information and love it even more. That is Inception. The action sequences are so creative. That hallway fight sequence will hands down be my favorite action scene in any Christopher Nolan movie. The way Hans Zimmer's score is accompanying it and the movements are groundbreaking. Like how it goes with walls, how you could be upside down, sideways. Like Inception inspired a lot of filmmakers with this style. Like Doctor Strange does a similar thing. I just love this movie. It's layered with a lot of information. There's different characters with different motivations, and it just is an epic blockbuster that's original. That is very rare than what we've gotten in the 2010 decade. But coming in at number 1, you guys know what it is. It's my second favorite film of all time, favorite superhero movie of all time, still has not been topped, The Dark Knight. What else can I say about The Dark Knight that hasn't already been said by me and many other people thousands and thousands of times? This is the best superhero film still ever made, and while that may be different for some people, but for me, this hasn't been topped yet. Maybe Matt Reeves' Batman might do it, we shall see. We don't get introduced to Batman, we get introduced to the Joker right away, and Heath Ledger's performance is my favorite performance by any actor of all time. And this is when he died. Like, what a tragic death and what a performance to go out on. Batman does not get the spotlight to this movie. I don't understand that criticism. People say Batman isn't as good as the Joker. Christian Bale's phenomenal in here. Gives one of his best performances. I don't need to talk about The Dark Knight anymore. You guys know I love it, and you know The Dark Knight is my favorite Nolan movie, and it won't be topped. There you have it, guys. That was my ranking for all 11 Christopher Nolan movies. Again, this was my list, guys. Don't give me hate. Just respect my list. I'll respect your list. Let me know down below. And let's have a great conversation about it. Thank you guys, as always, for watching this Nolan ranking. All my social media links are in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.